been there for a while.
But it fried his
And they're
pump.
probably
Yeah, they're.
They're not a submersible pump.
Yeah,
They're designed for underwater, a little moisture, but not 9 feet on top of it.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, point it that way.
This thing just,
Or else right at
Got it all.
somebody, oh, yeah, great.
Yeah, they are.
He never shut the pump off.
Yeah.
Well, he thought he had, he said.
19 and
Thought he
must be
had.
fine.
Could have just sat there and just.
They're all in there.
Oh, okay, because they've moved around so much, I've lost
Yeah.
She was so sweet on him.
Yes.
It was funny.
It's fine.
It was cute.
Yeah, she's still down there. The corner. She restaurant, or menus and all that training for restaurants and stuff. Yeah.
Because she's been, for a long time,
Oh,
she's been
yeah.
in Colorado. Did she come home much?
I'm glad she got your dog.
No.
Oh,
Can you
man.
believe that?
Good
You
job.
got an 8-year-old.
Oh my God.
I think she's
It's okay, I went out to
she
nail
had
it to the
him,
wall
so
and she got, boy, she
between
got
working
away.
all that
That's,
time.
yes,
it's
that's
a
a
different.
lot,
Yeah.
that takes a lot
Where's my
to
address
handle.
down? Apparently she was getting calls all over.
Then she
All
worked
over.
12,
People
14
showed
hours
up
a
at
day
her
and
house.
come home
Looking
and
for the
kids.
dog.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
it's
I
a
don't know
lot.
the address, I don't even know where
Is
she
that
lives.
where he's
I
on?
just know she
Yeah.
lives
I
up the
just saw
road
the
from us.
post and picture of the dog.
Hi.
I know.
It wasn't a case of somebody just dropped the dog
Yeah,
off, you know.
no.
And then shortly after that, she found
Yep.
Well, it's sitting in the
We
front
contacted her at 3 o'clock, she gave it all away at 5.
I don't know.
See that hammer there?
Looks like it's up for grabs.
Yeah, you don't, you gotta use that to what's going on.
She
Yeah.
didn't know somebody that.
She
How
doesn't,
you doing, Nate? I'm doing.
she likes it, so
Yeah.
she gets
There's a lot of that
deal with
going on
them
these
now.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
deal with that.
This one is.
Seems to be the norm.
Yeah.
That was quite a fiasco, it was quite a day yesterday. We just woke up.
I just wanna have a nice mom.
I know, right? At least we don't get bored.
Yeah.
Is he getting that raised or?
You know, he thinks about it, but he figures
Yep.
he really
I bet.
does.
It's overrated, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, it is. It's terrible.
And you get used to that short
Is it?
commute
Yeah.
too.
So I think he wants to
Somebody
try to
said-
wait until 67,
Yeah.
just to get the better. Because he's been with the school district for so many years that, you know, he can get a pretty good retirement.
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
waits.
And he likes it.
And they
Yeah,
said, he's
yeah,
looking
he
forward.
does. He said
I
now
want
that
to get
now
caught up
Take
on
up
all
ice
the-
fishing.
No, he's got stuff to get caught up
He
on all
actually
winter
will be
long.
able to
So-
retire at some
Somebody's been
point.
filling my
Yeah,
shop.
if ever gets mad at
Yeah.
me.
There you go.
Yeah, he feels better.
The honeydew
Yeah.
list in the garage.
Because it's a little bit harder
Oh, I
when
helped
you're
build
30
this,
or
so I get a
40.
corner.
you know.
It's expanded a little bit
Oh,
further
yeah.
than the
Just a little bit
Right.
further than the corner. Yeah.
But
3
then
stoves,
after
a
you get
tub,
through-
ice bombs.
I bet, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. You know, those of us that are looking for it, I can think I can hardly wait, I can hardly wait, but yeah, it goes fast. And I have several friends who retired when they were 62, and they're out there in their 70s, and they said, "Man, we should have
We will miss it.
because that money doesn't go quite as far as
You
Yes, we will.
they want to
Yeah, at the moment, it seems like it's a good time.
Oh, is it this
Yep,
weekend?
kind of short.
when you
Lots of
realize
people
you might
don't
live
really-
another
Yeah,
30 years.
Friday.
They're not that
something
shy.
that's-
Insurance and all that.
That's the most part of it, I'm used to.
No.
Down there on Friday. I can't remember.
Oh, something.
I need, yeah, there's all this junk. I need to clean out the fire hall.
Oh, that's what I said. Well, maybe you could get with
I'm good with the boys.
boys on Saturday.
Well, that's what I told them to clean up, because I gotta get it cleaned out at least by half a day. We can get our lunch this morning, go through it real quick and get ready.
You just want to go to the Navy?
You know, he's still working on the Air Force, he was
Was
in
he?
the, this Navy SEAL he was in high
Yeah.
school. But, so he didn't sleep back. So he's been, no, but I smacked him.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're gonna find out after that, so.
That Monty retired out of the Air Force. It's,
Yeah,
you know,
that's what.
well, maybe probably true,
It's your
but Air
corner,
Force
that's
just,
my corner.
you know,
I decided.
nobody's gonna hurry if you're doing, you know.
No, see, that's it, and, Cooper just felt that the Air Force, well, plus he doesn't go bad. He had a
Oh,
job.
yeah.
He went on a, 5-day, what they call it,
Oh,
from
really?
San Diego to,
Yeah.
Bremerton.
Mhm.
And he was on an aircraft carrier for 5 days, and he said that was enough for him.
Yeah.
He said
And then
it
they
just-
go out for 6 months at a
Yeah,
time.
and he could not, he said it really failed to see land, and he's just not.
Yeah.
fond of
Well, that's why,
water.
you know, when we went fishing at Washington, I was good, and I could see the trees, my guts were just raw,
See,
and,
it was from our, and then, you know, the 64 or so.
yeah.
And he didn't realize that he was claustrophobic until he got on
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So it was a good experience for him, it made him realize that he was.
Hey,
You made it, huh?
I had that at work.
Fast
But
You went to Columbus and back?
because they offer, he's interested in IT and some of that stuff, that depends on if he can. Come over here. The physics and all that.
There you go.
I'm guessing it's probably.
I said the phone right there.
And boy, they make good money.
Well, and
the
chairs out
That's what Monty would tell her, Cheyenne goes to, yeah,
Put out a little more.
Haven't gotten down to the circus for.
and he went right into PSC and
Yeah, they're not worse than what
see
we
the
do.
planes
It's
then.
like a plane, it's built on one
yeah,
floor.
everybody was wanting to says that, you know,
It's around kind.
So we'll see what happens. But if not, he has a friend who lives on the railroad. So he thought, well, you know, if he can't get a real land because of his medical
Yeah.
problems,
Because right now they're pretty,
We got the roof done on that house
Did
down
you?
there.
grandson was gonna get
And
in.
the basement, we got half the basement poured.
They
Pour the rest
even
of
in
it.
winter.
Got that weird pipe move when the wet next
Oh,
door,
that was
yeah.
the first thing.
I bet.
Not
In about
pretty much going on
30
with that.
seconds.
It was already capped off, I guess.
I did find out more information on that tank.
Yeah.
I've got the date, it was the end, the date it was clean, the last time, I've got some more information for you tonight.
Road, so.
Give council a public
It
comment
was
around
in
before it
5-foot
comes
pieces,
out.
real quick.
Yeah, I bet. Once we know it wasn't attached to anything.
So you finished everything up? Come on.
Take it.
Yep,
He
good.
does
We
good work.
waited,
He
we
does
waited
nice
to
work.
do the other house until spring.
Oh, this
Why
is good.
I don't bite, that's okay.
Why are you hiding back
Yeah,
there?
get it off and.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna end up with.
It's just an extra turn, that's why.
Well, just to get it sealed.
Sort of is.
Well, that's why I didn't want you.
Yeah, and
No,
it's
just
rain,
kidding.
or freeze and snow and.
Yeah.
You never know.
Anytime.
Or it could be 65.
For the next 9 days. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Sir, how are you today?
I'm good, I'm good.
When are you gonna?
Right, they got one this afternoon and they just about doubled all the percentage.
Really?
Really
Busy.
So,
Was that you shooting
It's
over
gonna be
there?
snow instead of rain.
Oh, the bees all over.
I call it now.
Yeah, I saw that. I'll make soup that day. Stay home.
When are you gonna come fix us?
Wednesday, I'm gonna give you guys a call.
It looks different.
Yeah, I've got
Oh, I
to Sheridan
bet, I
tomorrow
bet.
to go for a water main leak
You got a lot done
and
inside.
I'm gonna check with you
Oh,
guys
just
on
we're
Wednesday.
down now.
Yeah,
We're shutting
doing
the
all the
boiler
demo.
down. Yeah, so
It'll
we'll just run all the
look great.
Okay.
We're gonna lift that front
Okay.
porch, remember that front porch went down?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, we're gonna jack it up.
All right, well,
They just figured out that I know everything.
Carrie decided what she's gonna do. Is she gonna stay there for a while?
We
or-
don't have to want you to. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they were down there for a while. They can't
So-
afford to go where they want to go.
Oh, okay. Where do they wanna go?
what can you tell me about Terry's
Oh,
program?
oh, yeah. Gracie over there.
They're unlocked.
Heard that.
He doesn't have password on my supper.
Good deal.
He doesn't?
No.
on the
He's not like Becker.
Yeah,
You,
okay.
when you buy it, you own it.
No.
Okay.
So there's no password, so anybody with that, with the
Yeah.
Well, that's the
capability.
problem is with the
Some
program,
people are
is
not.
that that's
Yeah.
still where he kind of
Footprint's gonna be small.
does
You either are
have.
or you are not.
So basically,
Does
anybody,
have it.
anyone that has that program on their computer can plug into it, download it,
Cable running on the ground and stuff
and
like
then
that.
make changes.
Okay.
I put those posts up.
I'm glad he doesn't do that.
See 'em sticking up
But I'm
Did you
a
already
little
measure
frustrated with him.
They're not growing.
No.
Not me.
I
Probably
really spoke to
the account.
multiply.
He's changing his free program, so.
There's a,
Yeah.
I was told to
What's the
either.
project?
It got muddy,
And you didn't do
and I
anything.
didn't need to go up there and get
Well,
full.
well, that's
I didn't do
good.
any
He
more.
drove his feet
Did he have
for
a,
4 years on the truck for 3 years.
One of those ones that
I spent
big,
3 years
or
trying
did
to
you
buy
make
it.
it?
the other one, and then it turned to mud, and I
He
figured
really
I
wanted
was
to
gonna
take
go
over.
and make a mess.
Yeah, basically, it's gonna pay yearly consulting fee. Salary.
Railroad ties.
Basically,
They're not gonna pound.
They don't have the right
But they don't have a right rounder, but
I know maybe mad at the
It's loose.
Yeah.
There was one at the auction, boy.
Yeah, oh no,
You should've
that was
said
all.
house pound.
I just asked, somebody had a,
I can
But
buy
it's the same
that.
job
Yeah.
and different prices.
Monster.
So it was early in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
Well, like
4:30.
About 6 o'clock.
No, it was early.
No, no, he left the shed.
Cops going by, 'cause we were headed to Helena, like,
So I said,
I come through there at 6, I come through there at 6 o'clock and there was just 2 cops there and the 2 cars.
That's right after.
sort of,
Because I always
Said it looked like
screwed up.
the
I
car
always,
that did it.
I was gonna stop everybody and say, "God, I see what you're taking."
I
I was gonna do it, but I was on the way to work.
Someone offered, she came after me and
can't remember the name. There was a, out there here.
She said her husband.
So are you doing anything on the sidewalk?
Permits. Somebody else.
That's what he was on his way to.
Oh, yeah, the size like that.
Gonna use the media.
Down there. But if father did come back, he did.
We're asking you to change the program.
Yeah.
so pump 1 should be 3 was the ladder. If you look at the drives, there's 1, 2, 3, and the small one's the short one. The small one is the little head.
We want to be able to change that.
Used to be able to. So used to be able to water it out without even a computer, and I was able to switch it. But we used to be able to rotate. It's supposed to like go so long from pump 1, and then it'd go to pump 2. Pump 2 would do lead, and then it would rotate, so that each pump. Because, what was that, green, whatever,
Vacation trip.
something green, up kind of the northern end of the west side. That's what that one was.
Yeah, pretty much. Some of the other subdivisions that he did. Granite Park, Oak Creek,
So if
those are all switched by the VFC.
foot in my mouth on something.
Very perfect.
Yeah, those are smart.
Yeah, those are smart drives. Yeah, Crystal speaks to us on the smart ones. Yeah.
So that's why those rotate themselves, because they're Ethernet together.
Yep, that's right.
They talk to each other.
Yep.
And Browns, we did one with Browns.
Right, that was BlackRock. Yep.
BlackRock, that one does the same thing.
Yeah.
that has to be posted so it's your own. Steal it.
If they don't upgrade the drives, they're not programmed.
You little run of it, maybe twice a year.
This is one of them.
I sit down and bring a walk. Yeah, I know how to sit down and get stiff.
I made it here before you did.
Tim, do you want to turn the recorder on for? Yeah. You want to turn the recorder on for John?
Do we need to add sheriff's report, or does that just fall under employee report?
You'll do that.
Oh, Cardinal. Oh, okay, I just didn't know what CCF. Oh,
Okay. Okay, before we get started, there are some rules that we need to follow. If you have a question or a statement, please stand up, state your name, give your statement or your question. Be very brief and concise. The council will be able to answer any questions they feel are viable for them. We will not go into long debates about any certain subject. And we will, if that happens, we will immediately adjourn this meeting, and then we'll resume in 10 minutes. So with that said, we'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Do you have any changes to the agenda?
I make a motion, we accept the agenda as written.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to accept the agenda as written, and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Hardin County Sheriff's Report. Josh?
First.
Yeah.
So there's 5 copies, council. Just the monthly report. For August, since I wasn't here, there was 74 hours of coverage, and I'll get you that similar rundown of the calls for August.
Okay.
So September, there's 64 hours. August 1st through November 30th, there's been 85 calls, or calls for service within the town to run your license plate or take a phone call from you. That's what that is. It's all inclusive. And so just some of a quick rundown of it. There has been couple disturbances. We did have a motorcycle wreck out on the highway, but it was within town, so the deputies handled that. It was minor injuries. Complaint on some horses here at this time that was investigated, and it's nothing criminal at this time, but it was looked at. Dogs continue to be an issue, as we know. We are working on some ordinance violations with the city attorney, trying to get that wrapped up. And part of that process is allowing them to try to make it right, and then when it's not corrected, then we would take the next step. So there's some stuff that's, people are probably wondering why it's taken so long, but it's either in the works or it's going to the next step to the city attorney. So those things are never fast.
Do we have an idea who's going to be responsible for enforcement there?
Well, for the enforcement part, we will, and then the city attorney will file a complaint, and they'll be served it, and then they come to court. And then that process goes through the court process, so that's another thing that takes time. And then there's potentially an appeals process, anytime you're dealing with property and all that. So it's in the works, but it takes time, and everything's 2 months or 2 weeks to a month out. It's just how it works. So, but as far as the ordinance, we investigate it, we work with the city attorney, we draft the appropriate paperwork, we serve it, and then they give it a court date somewhere down the road, and they come see the judge, and it's in the judge's hands for the most part, the courts. We did have one partner family member assault that a male was arrested on and taken to jail. We've had a couple noise complaints. One call was some gunshots, what people thought were gunshots about 4 in the morning. We got the call at 4:06 and we had a deputy here at 4:11, 5 minutes later, and he didn't hear anything go through. Not to say it didn't happen, we were here that quick. So we've had some parking issues, and it's been encouraged for both parties to just try to work it out. Another disturbance in which the suspect left, and the deputies followed up later. Had a dog bite. Those guys, if a dog bites somebody, that's a public health deal. Not necessarily citations written, but it goes to the public health nurse, and she follows up to make sure the shots, because it is technically a public health issue, that's what gives us our enforcement powers on those things. You'll see on there, sometimes they're labeled domestic disturbances. That's just the way the computer codes them. That doesn't mean that's what it really was once the deputies got there and followed up on it. There's one that's a verbal disturbance, they separate for the night and move on. Barking dogs. We got a call about some suspicious activity the following day, which was pretty hard to follow up on. Made some traffic stops. They've been over here in the mornings. Try to be over here in the afternoons at least a couple times a week around the school zones. We know that's an issue. We're just trying to take care of it. We did have a theft of some prescription meds. Barking dogs. They're checking the buildings as they go through town at night occasionally. Suppose we had some people up on the roof. We've identified and made contact with them. You're up there again, you get charged with trespass. Remember kind of the highlights, and we got a lot of stuff going on. We did have somebody try to break into a car. The car was locked, and they tried to pry the door open. They didn't get in. So, and we had a dog that was taken and eventually returned to the owner, and that's still an open investigation. This is the last call. So, any questions or concerns?
Josh, I would like to thank you for your deputies being here.
Nope.
Really appreciate it to be able to see them any time of the day.
Yep.
Or night.
Or night.
Yeah, it's pretty evident they're here.
Yep.
So,
They are.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. You looked at the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept Sheriff's Department report as given.
I have a motion to accept the sheriff's office report. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the sheriff's office report as given. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. We have, like we had talked to Janet about the reports. Okay.
All right, so
So my monthly clerk report for Janet Free, October 1st, 2018. You're receiving the accounts receivable summary, collections history, tax voucher detail, revenue voucher detail, combined check register, copy of Bank of Bridger bank statements, statement of expenditure budget versus actual, and statement of revenue budget versus actual as reports. Utility billing has not been done yet for September. That should hopefully be done tomorrow. All the readings, I think they're all done now. So we'll have a report to add to next month for September's utility, the usage billing summary and the billing journal. And I would also like to note that there was no utility billing done in July of this year, not even an estimated billing. No bills for the utilities were billed in July, for July. Not even in August, so I just wanted to let you guys know that I had found that.
We didn't receive any bills in July from water.
We did not bill anybody, so
You didn't bill
any
anybody.
monies we received in July were for people who were paying for their June billing.
Brenda was told my wife that somebody told her they were just gonna forgive that 1 month.
No,
Yeah, and
no.
that's what Brenda told her.
The statement made to me was that she told the customers if they called or if they came in just to go and pay their normal fee, and that would be back when we billed them in August, it would be back to normal. So I believe that's what most of them did.
Well, she told Carol that, cause Carol gave her a check for $300, and she said, no, you don't have to pay for that 1 month. It's forgiven. Carol said, well, if that's not forgiven, you put it on the next bill then.
No.
As a matter of
that did
fact,
not
they said
happen.
you're the one that told them that
No,
it
I
was
did
forgiven.
not. I did not. That is not true.
May I say something?
Yes. Al.
It did come up in a meeting that people were under hardships wouldn't be forgiven during that time period. I heard that with my own ears, and that did come from this council.
Actually, it came up at the meeting that we were going to discuss the possibility of forgiving part of the bills in the future with hardship cases. We have a lot of low-income people in town, and we have a lot of people that, you know, have a hard time even coming up with paying part of their bill. And we had said that we were going to discuss that at a planning meeting. We haven't made a decision to do that yet because it has not been discussed. We have to go through the customer list and find out, you know, who we need to look at helping.
Well, I realize that
Yeah,
came
so-
up and there wasn't a decision, but I think part of the problem is that if you're going to have that kind of a hardship issue, you have to have some definite criteria. You can't just be willy-nilly, because then it turns
And
into
that's why we're
political
having the planning
service.
meetings. Yeah, that's why we're having the planning meetings. Anything else?
Let me just reiterate that if you have something to say, you need to stand up and state your name. This isn't a free-for-all.
Anyone else?
I was just gonna state that in regards to July's bill, I contacted the office in late July because my mother lives in the Hanson house up on Carbon. And we came in and paid that water bill, even though it had not been billed out, and she said it was because that whatever, they hadn't gotten the meter reading done, they didn't have it done, so we paid the base. And she kept saying that eventually the reading would be done and the gallonage would show up. Well, for 4 months running now, we have just paid the base rate. And so I'm really hoping we don't get nailed with a whole bunch of gallonage because...
No. We're looking at that, and the problem is in March, we did not get readings because one of our employees resigned, quit his job. For April, May, and June, we estimated those bills. And that's what that was when you got your bill in May, June, and probably what
we
you
just
didn't,
took over
could
in
get.
June.
Yeah, so
when Mother moved
that
at the
was
end
an
of May.
estimation, so.
And we did,
now
and that's
when-
what we've been paying
Right.
all summer up until this point.
Right.
And
And-
so I just didn't know where we're at now. She said tomorrow they'll be done, so we'll have a reading, so we'll know.
We should have them, all the readings and everything tomorrow, and I think Jeremy has just a few more that he has to pick up that were reading in error, so he has to go back and do those. But we should have the bills out by the 3rd or the 4th.
Okay, because my mother just moved into this house and we don't have any idea what her usage is, if it becomes, you know, if it's a rather large bill because it's been several months, is that gonna be allowed to be paid in 2 months worth or?
We're going to
split up?
correct that usage. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna go through the billing, the whole billing list. And before we even do anything, Janet will print an exception list. That's never been done before, but we will print an exception list. We'll go through it, we'll correct the misreadings. A lot of the reads that we got in August for the July bills were overread. Some of them had been overpaid. So those all show up on the computer, and we will do that and make sure that everything is correct before we send it out. But you will not get a huge bill that you can't, you know, that's...
Well, and that's why we've been paying the base in hopes that we didn't get too far behind, but I can understand some of these low-income
Right.
Nobody's gonna
residents
have
may
to make a decision whether to pay for their water bill or buy food.
Right.
We promise you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if anybody has an issue, they need to get a hold of the clerk and the mayor so we can address those things in a private setting.
Well, and just because I actually live in Bridger, but my mom's here, and this is my son Bill, he's looking at purchasing that house that my mother's renting. And we're kind of out of the loop. Do we have somebody in the office to replace Brenda here now? Or will it?
Janet is our interim clerk right now, and she will be here until the 28th of October. We are in the process right now of interviewing and hiring a new permanent clerk, and we hope to have someone hired at least 2 weeks before Brenda leaves, or a week anyway, so that Brenda can bring them up to speed.
Janet.
Or Janet, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
But, yeah. We're not gonna let anybody have to overpay or anything. We're gonna check everything.
I was just curious if there's anybody in the office, because my mother had called several times and not ever received or reached anyone here, so.
Right. Well, at the time, when Janet came in, she was working a full-time job in Billings also, so she came in the evening after hours and did a lot of things, so. But that's where we're at right now, and it will be all.
Okay.
Hopefully.
If she ever calls again, just have her leave a message and I will
Yes.
return it. She didn't leave a message,
Well,
so
she's
if she leaves a
hard of
message, I'll
hearing,
get
and
back
so
to
she
her.
probably couldn't understand the message
Okay.
very well.
Yeah,
so-
I'll get back to anybody who leaves me a message.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Zoning, we have an application from Elton. I have explained to him that means we don't have a zoning committee, we'll probably have to table it, so.
We need to approve the bills.
No,
No,
Not yet.
because we don't have them all.
I've had 5 days in the office and with pretty much zero training. And so I'm still trying to get all that stuff. I should have it all for you guys tomorrow. If you can swing by, you can sign the bills tomorrow, but I've been in the office for 5 days this month and there's a lot to learn. And so I don't have those all prepped for you guys yet. I still have to do some research and make sure what's been paid and what hasn't. That was one of the things Brenda didn't go over with me, so.
Understand.
Okay, so I should have those tomorrow though.
So we're not gonna